Good morning. So I guess it's time to get started. And I've been working on this idea for a really long time. I I just don't even know where to begin. So I'm just going to start from when uh, the idea popped into my head this morning because I was looking on my Facebook and the memories pop up. A picture of myself and um, my friend who came with me. Just a minute, I'm just going to find it here. Uh, Came up on my story and reminded me the things that we needed. So the truck, the trailers, the horses, get to know each other a little bit. We were going to be traveling together for quite a long time. So we decided to take some moments and get to know each other. And so I just wanted to go through today what it felt like to leave on the ride across Canada and to go and stay. Oh, there it is. Living with us for a while, I think close to 2 years. And then when the idea of the ride across Canada came up and I was asked to go, um, I was going to be leaving everybody, and Lindsay was still living here. So she also, her job was being a journalist. And so it almost seemed like a no-brainer. But originally, she was asked to come along in order. Ended up changing quite quickly as we went through. But so on this particular day, 9 years ago, I had I had gone out and purchased a truck and trailer, just the trailer. I borrowed the truck. Um, and I had been filling it full of necessities for the past couple of weeks. And so, weird little things, like because um, I love to cook and there was only room for 12 spice jars. And so, in my world at the time, that was a huge decision. What spices do you take? Little things. We set up the bed and we set up the bunk beds for the kids. Um, my kids at the time were 12, 10, and 4. And they were completely welcomed to come and join us on this journey. And I just want to go back in time a little bit and explain that this all I feel came about from writing my bucket list. And uh, I had a friend that had passed away, and she had a bucket list, and she was only 20 years old. And I thought, how strange for someone who's 20 to have a bucket list. But sure, her life was ending. She had a terminal form of cancer. And so, knowing that her life was ending, she created the bucket list so that she could have things to continue to, to fight for, to stay alive in order to complete. But she just started checking them off, like she wanted her life to be exciting and goal oriented. And so she did things like bungee jumping and skydiving, and she was a model, and she wrote a song, and she did all these amazing things. And so after she passed away, I struggled for a little bit, and then I decided to write my own bucket list. And I just scribbled it down really fast. I don't even really think I was paying attention. But I wrote down that I wanted to go on a tour with my partner. I wanted to drive across Canada, and I wanted to go on a horseback riding adventure. And I had written other things too. I wanted to sing in front of a crowd. I wanted to, be an actor and star in a movie and so many things. But the interesting thing is that as soon as I wrote that down, that's okay. Hey, Jack, could you just shut my door? I forgot to shut it before I started this thing. Okay, thanks. Yeah, he's now, that was 9 years ago, so he's now 18. Oh, so he must have been 9. Not 10. Okay, so, yes, the older two are 2.5 years apart, so 12, 9, and 4. Anyway, so I wrote down, go on a tour and horseback riding adventure and drive across Canada. And so I wrote that in October. And on the first 2 weeks of November, my partner asked me if I wanted to go on a 10-day tour with him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, check. And then while we were getting ready and starting to prepare for that, I got an email that came in from a girlfriend of mine named Therese. And it said, I just stayed at a bed and breakfast up in Quesnel, and a man there, a veteran, had told me an amazing story about his goal to raise awareness for the mental health and struggles of our Canadian Armed Forces. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I've always felt a connection to the service community. And I don't even know why, but I would always go to Remembrance Day ceremonies. I've always been very, very grateful for people who, protect and serve. I'm not a believer in war, but I am a believer in the hearts and minds of people who choose to serve. I think that that's a quality that people have, and it drives them to towards serving things like people and country and humanity and things like that. So she sent me this email, but all that she wanted at the time was for me to help him develop a song for the ride across Canada. And so I sent him an email and I said, hey, I work with artists. We've, written songs in the past for things. Maybe we should have a conversation. So we did. And that's how the whole thing started. It was just a conversation. We had a conversation about what he wanted to do and, where he wanted to go and why. And he told me his story about serving and being in the medevac pocket and then returning and, running into a lady who had been in a war zone and how grateful she was for the service of the Canadian Armed Forces that came in and provided her respite, and she had made her way to Canada. So all of this was very moving. So I had gone from November 1st to close, I think, to the 9th or 10th. And as we were coming back, the veteran was going to be in Ladner, and we were going to be on the Tuasin Ferry. So we stopped at a coffee shop in Ladner, and he explained more about his story. And it just resonated so much with me that I thought to myself, okay, we have to do this. We have to get a song prepared for this, courageous man who was going to go and do this journey. So I ended up having a lot more conversations with both him and his wife, and there was a lot of themes. I wanted the song to be filled gratitude. I wanted the song to uh, be a thank you from Canadians to uh, the service members. Because what they were going to do is they were going to travel across the country and share this song with as many veterans as they could to let them know that there are people out there who appreciate the energy and their sacrifice, because these are people who are willing to give of themselves in any way, shape, or form to protect what we have here in Canada, whether it's our resources or our people or our way of living, and just Canada on a whole. They're like, I love Canada so much, I'm willing to give my life in order to protect it. And so I wrote down line after line. I wrote down, um, that the bombs sound like thunder. I wrote down all of these thoughts and ideas. And then I handed the piece of paper to my partner, who then went downstairs and decided that, uh, you know, the structure and how it was going to come about. And so that song ended up just being called Thank You. And it traveled with us everywhere we went. And the only other video that I actually have on this channel right now is, so you can hear this song, is a tribute to Carl Dunphy, which we won't get to his story for a long way down the road, because I didn't meet him until Edmundston in New Brunswick. Anyway, so we wrote the song, and I believe that that's how it should be. We wrote this song. The veteran, his wife, myself, and Ryan. Ryan arranged it, but the idea, some of the phrasing, the words, they all came from a group of people. And I'm very grateful that my partner had the talents to be able to take all of those ideas and create something beautiful with it that we could carry with us. But at that point, I wasn't going on the Ride Across Canada yet. I was just, helping write a song. And so after that happened, and we sent an acoustic recording of the song to Paul and Terry, they said it was perfect. They were very grateful. It expressed exactly what it was that they wanted to say. This is going to be hard. And I know it is. I tried many times to start this whole process. And I failed over and over and over again, because I tried to treat it with a bit of nonchalance, just like, Hey, I want to tell this story, but that's not that's not real. So anyway, let's get back to it. I so we um I sent them the story in acoustic form, and then uh an amazing trio of male voices got together, and um they were stuck a little bit on the outro, so I helped them with that. But oh, and I'm gonna wreck this sticker right now. Okay, hold on. All this stuff has to come off anyway because I'm gonna be moving soon. But let me just I'm gonna save it. I'm just gonna destroy everything. So this band that was together at the time, Lion Bear Fox, they got together and they recorded the song for me, and it had these beautiful three-part harmonies, and it was just very, very inspiring. It had to be sung um, with more than one voice because it was supposed to be the voice of everybody, everybody that wanted to say thank you uh, is kind of what we were trying to make it feel like. So when I sent that, um, you know, we had been talking over and over again, and uh, both Paul and Terry were asking a lot about, what I did for a living and, what my capabilities were and that sort of thing. And so I explained, I've worked in the music industry for quite a long time. Um, I've done everything from public relations to radio tracking and artist management and event production and campaign management and so they started to inquire as to what it would take to have me join them. And I just kept saying no, like I can't just pack up and jump across the country. I have 3 children. I have a husband. And so they asked me, well, what would it take to have me come? And what if I could take everybody with me? And I thought, well, that's amazing. What an experience. What a wonderful way for, you know, anybody, like at whatever age, whether it be 12, 9, 4, uh, 35, 41, uh, to learn how much of an impact one person can make if they put their mind to it. And, even if we were able to help, 10 people across the way save, 20 veterans from burying themselves in their basement and struggling with their mental health on their own, to me, that was worth it. So I put that question to my family. And, um, and it was not received well. And it started to make me think about all of the things that had not been received well. The ideas that I have had over the years, whether it was, rebuilding a hotel into a venue or wanting to serve my community by being a part of local government or um, wanting to have a farm to table restaurant or and it's funny because it's been a pattern in my lifetime that the people that I'm with or that I'm in a partnership with have been always living to their best lives, doing what it is that they want to do. And and I think that's the problem, when I've asked to do something that I wanted to do, it's always been, "Oh, it's not the right time," or just a flat out no. And I don't know why I chose this one, but this was the decision that I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna have somebody else tell me that this isn't worth it, or that it's not my time, or that I can't do something because I have children." Uh, so I went to Arbutus RV, and without anybody knowing, I signed a 20-year mortgage on a 27-foot RV. And it was funny because they called me, because I've been self-employed for so long. I don't have a lot of proof of income, like it's one of those things where you're sometimes you make nothing in a year, you barely break even, and other years are okay, and but so it's very hard to apply for loans and things like that. So when they called me and she said, "Oh, I need 3 years of income and all this kind of stuff," and I said to her on the phone, you know I said, "I'm not going to bring that in. I don't have the ability to give that to you." And I said, "And if they don't want to approve me, then fine." I said that it's a sign that I'm not supposed to go. And I hung up the phone. And I don't think it was an hour later that she called me back and she goes, "I got you approved." I don't know how. And I didn't ask. I just went and signed the papers and then arranged for the delivery of a 27-foot trailer to be delivered to my cul-de-sac. I went down to the town and I got a permit for it to be housed there for, I think, 20 days. And then I just slowly spent that time putting it together and packing it with everything that I thought we would need. Games for the kids. My dad went out and got them all little iPad things to keep them busy on the long drives. We just slowly moved our life from the 2,600 square foot home into, I didn't even know what the square feet would be on that. What is it, like uh, 8 feet wide and 27 feet long? 180 feet? Square feet? I don't know. It was small anyway. Small for 4 people to be in. Because he refused to go. He felt that he didn't believe in the same things, and he didn't believe that Canada even needed an army. I and it's funny because he was willing to write and record the song, but not willing to believe in it. And that's neither here nor there. It's funny when somebody asks you to constantly believe in them, which I've done for 16 years. But when you ask them to believe in you, that the tables aren't turned. So that was that. It didn't stop me. Um, when I explained what I wanted to do to my family and to my friends, they all looked at me and they said, "Well, I don't see a downside," you know, and neither did I. So that was uh, an interesting part. So on this day in particular, we got in this truck and trailer, me and Lindsay and Zari and Jet and Bella. Actually, I gotta remember this correctly because this is a cathartic process of this recounting. But it was just me and Lindsay at first. Yeah, it was just me and Lindsay at first. We didn't want to bring all the kids yet because they were still in school. They were going to be hitting spring break. That was when we were going to take them out and start on the ride across Canada. So for this first 2 weeks, it was just me and Lindsay. We went. We drove the truck and trailer. That's so funny. It's hard to think back that long and remember it all. Because I remember Bella being at the first camp. But I think it was after she got out of school. Here's the funny part. So I had, at this point, never driven a truck and trailer. Not even like one inch. So I hooked it up. Had my neighbor Al help me because I'd never even hooked up a trailer to a truck before. And I wanted to make sure it was all good. I learned fast. And then I pulled it out of the driveway and I went the long road through town because Ladysmith has some really steep hills. And I took the long road down, but I had to turn down one of them to get down to the highway. And so I turned down Robert Street. I was making a right-hand turn. And as I took the turn, it's so funny because I swear the kids were with me because I remember saying to them as the trailer came around and it went up on the sidewalk and then back down again as we turned. And I thought, oh, note to self, wider turns. And that was about it. We were off. We got onto the ferry. We drove out to almost Chilliwack. I was out there recently in November of last year, and I took a really long route to get out to a music venue that I was going out to, and I almost went back. Her name was Debbie, and she owned a farm way out in Chilliwack in the back 40 of it. You literally drove on a road towards the mountain and then turned left and then just kept going along the base of the mountain, and eventually you got to her land. And we're talking March in BC, and that is a very rainy season. And so as I pulled up, the entire place was like just a mud pit. And it was gross and it was awful. And there was a space where we were putting the two trailers kind of side by side. Because what we did is we drove one trailer in one way, one trailer in the other way. So the doors were facing each other. We put their canopies out so they're almost touching. And then we laid down a bunch of ground material so that it was kind of like we had our two homes and they opened up and there was like a center piece. We even put, like, sometimes if it was nice, we'd keep the canopies back and then we would put a fire pit in the middle. It was where we did all of our meetings, our communication, all that kind of stuff. And so this is what we were learning. So we got there and the first thing I had to do was place my trailer. And so they had gone up the other way and pulled the one this way. So I was coming at it from this direction, but there was a ditch right here, huge ditch. And so we had to get the truck over far enough and like over the ditch to make it so that the trailer would come in behind it and be parallel. And this was my first experience in trust because as I was driving the truck in and I pulled it towards the ditch, in my head, my brain kept saying, no, 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 not good. Because the one tire of the truck, the front left tire, just disappeared. It had no traction. There was nothing underneath it. And I felt like, I was driving right into the ditch and that the whole thing was going to go in. But so then this is when Paul came to my driver's window and he goes, look, he goes, if we're going to do this, you have to trust me. He goes, I'm not going to drive you into the ditch. He goes, my goal is the same as yours. He goes, but you're in the truck and you can't see. So look at my eyes and do what I say, and it'll be okay. And that's hard for me. That was a really, really hard thing to do because I haven't had the ability to trust in a really long time, because every time I shared honesty and that sort of thing, I ended up having the rug pulled out from underneath me. And so I steeled myself into trusting him. I stared at him through the window and I let it go. I let it go. I had this, $30,000 trailer attached to me. It was his truck. So, regardless, if he wants to have me drive his own truck into the ditch, fine. But that trailer, I had to keep it decent so that I could get it back and I could live in it. So we did it though. I looked at him and my God, it was the hardest thing to do. It reminded me a lot of when I learned to fly ultralights, is because you have to do things that are against your better instincts. When you're flying a plane and you put it so that it's going straight up into the air and it stalls and the plane slowly, drops down, and now you're not even, you're like suspended in space for a while in the plane. It's like it takes a minute for the whole acceleration to end, it starts going down, and then it starts to gain speed. But you have to, against your better judgment, push your throttle straight forward, straight towards the ground, in order to gain the speed to get the air underneath the wings again and be able to create lift. So I went back to that, I was 18 when I learned how to fly. So I went back to that mentality and I stared at Paul and I allowed him to just guide me in. I felt like if I was, flying a 747 or something, it's the same mentality. You can't see everywhere around the plane. So you have to trust that all of those people on the ground are being your eyes and ears for you. And that was one of the first really huge lessons that I learned. And the second lesson happened the same day. So we got the trailers all set, got everything put out. I walked around, met everybody on the team, met Jerry for the first time, the carpenter. Terry was prepping horses. Paul was building things with Jerry and saddles and stuff and organizing. And I decided that I was going to make everybody dinner. And my specialty is French roast chicken. And so I prepped it all up, and I'm going to use my trailer stove for the first time. And so I turn it on, and I put the chicken in the oven. And it didn't dawn on me that French roast chicken is low heat. but it takes about, 4 hours to cook. And, uh, and it didn't even dawn on me that that amount of time would use up so much propane. And, the nights are, in March still get pretty cold, and, so that first night, we ended up having to bundle up quite a bit because there was no propane left, after I made we had a wonderful dinner, a wonderful dinner, but yeah, I froze that night. So that was day 1 of getting to know everybody on the ride across Canada, how the team came together in a farm way out in the Lower Mainland, and we spent the next, uh, yeah, about the next 10 days learning about each other, getting to know each other, helping each other, and, uh, and deciding, you know, for better or for worse, that this was the group that we were going to take across the country. So that was, day 1, the first day, the first true day of the Ride Across Canada. I guess this is how it's gonna go for the next 250 days. Welcome, and thanks for being here.